Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. I hope you're doing all okay. Adam is back joining me for another guest once again. We have Austin on with us today. He's going to be talking to us about the Chicago Bears and the Justin Fields pick. Firstly, we had our first live video on Monday, and we're very happy with how it went. It's nearly up to 2,000 viewers on Twitter. We really appreciate all your support of that. And we're really happy with how it went. And it's hopefully more to come in the coming weeks. So like I said, we've got Austin on with us. We're going to be talking about the first quarterback on the episode on this series since Trey Lance at number 3 with the San Francisco 49ers. It feels so long ago now, but Austin, co-host of the reality podcast, friend of the podcast as well. Me and Adam have a good history with Austin, a great guy, and I hope you've been getting all okay. We saw your bachelor party photos all over social media.
Oh, yeah.
Like you had a cracking time in Vegas. How's everything been, my man?
Yeah, it's been great. Gearing up for the wedding. I had to. We decided to stop the Bears podcast we were doing. There's so many Bears podcasts, and they're all everybody's doing a great job. And I just think we don't have the drive to kind of keep it going right now. So I'm gonna stick to tweeting and being a fan and stuff. And we're also do that reality podcast like you said at the beginning. But everything's going well. It's summertime out here at least. So it's starting to warm up and we're getting to see some Justin Fields footage at minicamp. So it's been going pretty well.
Well, yeah, you didn't just draft Justin Fields. I mean, you moved up dramatically to go and get him. I mean, you traded with the New York Giants, the 11th pick. You sent over your 20th pick of 5th rounders as well. You also traded your next year's 1st round and 4th round pick. Obviously, you were going to be wait until 20 to see who sits there and see what player you could get, whether it be a quarterback that drops. I mean, a lot of people like the idea of Fields dropping down to you guys, but you guys were aggressive to go and get him. What was your reaction when Justin Fields' name gets read out and it's official that he becomes a Chicago Bear?
I have a buddy who is, sometimes I get some good little tidbits of info and he was like on top of, he was on top of draft night. So he was feeding me all the picks before that was happening. I was getting them out. People were getting mad at me for spoiling. And then we get to 11. It was 11 that they traded up to, right? We get to 11 and 10, the Cowboys traded back to the Eagles so the Eagles could get
Devontae
Smith. Thank you. And because they knew the Giants wanted Devontae Smith. And at that point, didn't really know what the Giants were going to do. And my buddy texted me and said, Giants are trading back, but he doesn't know who. And then all of a sudden the Bears pop up on the bottom. And I'm like, oh my God. I was on Zoom. I wish they were recording. I started going insane. My fiance is looking at me like I'm crazy because he didn't have it on. I was watching on my phone and I was going insane. And I was getting all these texts and everything. And then he texted me and said, it's Justin Fields. And, I was like, oh my God, it's Justin Fields. And then he read it off and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I went nuts. I bought a jersey that night and 2 jerseys. We've never had anything like this in Chicago. It was something I'll never forget for sure. Actually, a funny story. I want to say around pick 6, there was someone DM'd me a screenshot from NFL.com or NFL Network. And they said that the graphic, they're like, when did the Bears trade to 11? And the graphic had the Bears at 11. I was like, that must be a mistake, a typo or something. And then we saw that the Bears ended up trading to 11. And I think that report came out later that the Bears got that pick early or before the draft, or it was in process before the draft or something. So just funny that NFL Network kind of goofed up a little bit there. And there was only a couple people that noticed, but yeah, that was just a crazy night. I didn't watch the rest of the draft after that. Like I was throwing out draft picks, before they were announced and all this stuff. And it was a great time, a great experience to do something like that. And after Fields was drafted, I was like, I can't even like form a sentence. It was crazy. Just a great night. It's hard to put it into words, but it was awesome.
So I don't know how much you would have seen of him at Ohio State, but I imagine you've seen plenty of tape of him now. What was it that has impressed you the most from his time in college?
Yeah, well, I am a big college football bettor, and I bet on him all the time. So I watch Justin Fields all the time. First quarter and first half, Ohio State bets were just locks with Justin Fields back there. But there's a lot of things I like about Justin Fields. I don't even know where to start. His ability to His football IQ, his leadership are two things that are. I mean, have you guys seen those clips of him in high school with Trevor Lawrence at that camp? I can't remember what camp it was, but they were going back and forth, and Trevor Lawrence was throwing some picks. It was like a 7v7 non-pad camp. Trevor Lawrence was throwing some picks, but Fields was like on fire and MVP of the tournament and everything. That was in high school. Then coming up through college, he has his crazy years. He's the most accurate player PFF has ever graded. It's just watching him play, watching the throws that he makes, the deep throws, which obviously you guys know Darnell Mooney. Now he's a good friend of mine too. And watching him as frustrated as he was last year, not getting the ball when he's open, like that's going to be fixed with Justin Fields here. And then also the big thing is his ability to evade the pocket. He's a 4.4 speedster, and he doesn't play like 4.4 speed on the field. Might look a little bit slower, but when he hits that open field, obviously he can excel, but accelerate. But just the eluding the pocket, escaping pressure, and just him being the accuracy that he has, that from college, not even playing a single snap in the NFL, the accuracy that he's bringing into the NFL is unparalleled, essentially. So just the fact that he fell all the way to 11 is remarkable. First of all, whoever spread those false rumors about him not having a good work ethic and stuff, we have to thank him. Whoever said that stuff, but he brings in a lot of intangibles. I mean, you see him on the field in minicamp. He's sprinting off the field every single time drills are done. His passes look great. Reporters are like salivating over him. So obviously we heard the same stuff about Mitch Trubisky when he was drafted, but there's a different feel. I mean, Trubisky was brought in as a project, as a risk, as someone who they thought they could make into a good quarterback. He had lack of experience. He started like 3 seasons, 1 season in high school, and then 2 in college, or 1 in college, or something crazy like that. And it was just no experience. And you have Fields coming in with all the experience, all the big games, national championships, college football playoffs. I mean, through high school, through the high level camps that he's been at, and college, he brings in so much experience. And is it's amazing. I still can't believe that he's a Chicago Bear. It's unbelievable.
As you just said, I mean, it is crazy that he dropped as low as he did, considering how well thought out he was. 2019, 2020, he was the guy behind Trevor Lawrence. That sometimes it was almost like, which one's going to go first? I mean, is it literally just the rumors that you feel that's why he dropped that far?
I don't really know why else he would drop. I know when the rumors were circling around, I know that there were reports of teams that were kind of like out on him then. But you look at the teams that drafted quarterbacks in front of Chicago, you have Jacksonville, obviously with Trevor Lawrence, then you have the Jets, who viewed Zach Wilson as number 2. And it's because of Zach Wilson's ability to make those quote unquote Mahomes type throws, the crazy throws, the running throws. He's super accurate on the run. So his ability to do that is why he was graded high. I don't really know if Zach Wilson is better than Justin Fields. Obviously, he wasn't. I don't know. That's a tough one. But
this podcast doesn't think so. This podcast was very
interesting. I like Zach Wilson a lot, but it's strange. But obviously, the year he had, it was remarkable. So I kind of understand it. I kind of don't. I guess they wanted to fit, I don't know, Salah's offense. I really don't know. But then you look at the Niners, and they were the only team, I would say, in the top 15 that could afford to draft Trey Lance to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. So they wanted to do that so that they can kind of mold Trey Lance, who has a massive ceiling. And then after that, you have, who am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anybody.
I think that was it. Yeah.
And then the cards kind of just fell. I mean, the Panthers, the Broncos, they skipped on quarterbacks. And then the Eagles trading up was kind of that last domino for the Giants to be like, we don't need this, we're going to trade back. And then the Bears kind of took advantage. So, you look at those 3 quarterbacks drafted in front of us. I think the one big thing is that we're just lucky that the Jets had Trey Lance over Justin Fields, and that's kind of how everything fell. And then the Broncos, at the end of the day, felt comfortable with the Panthers, felt comfortable with Sam Darnold. The Broncos felt comfortable with Drew Lock. So it's interesting, but I'll take it all day. I'm not going to complain.
I've had a very similar reaction with the Bears moving up. As soon as the Bears moved up, in my mind, I was like, this is Justin Fields. Like, he can't drop anymore.
Oh, yeah. I was like, they're not
Yeah.
incompetent to get Mac Jones. There's no way. There's absolutely
There was definitely, well, I mean, it's crazy to think for me, in my mind. I remember looking at it in January and doing mocks in January, which I never did before. And I'm not, mock drafts, take them or leave them. You know, I like doing them, but a lot of people think they're trash or they're not enjoyable to do. I love doing them just because I find it interesting to see where players sort of drop and get to. And I did one a month. And that first one I did in January, it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. And in the space of 3 months, Justin Fields was just dropping and it felt like all reports for he was just dropping and dropping and dropping. And like you said, I think there is that luck element in these drafts that these players do just fall, that there's teams that you think are going to take that player and then they don't. And then there's movement. And sometimes you just got to take the risk. And you guys, okay, you've given away a first round pick next year, but you know, what's it going to be worth, that first round pick, if Justin Fields can be as good as he can be in his rookie year? And you've got a defense that is very real. I have been critical at saying it's a lot of names. It doesn't feel like it's really come together.
It'll regress this year for sure, especially with Kyle Fuller kind of taking a backseat. They have bumped up the linebackers. You know, they'll be okay. The edge rushers, I think the defensive line is going to be really good this year. They're deep all the way across the board at D-line. Cornerback is going to be the issue for sure. That's going to be where we're not quite sure who's going to step up there, like Kendall Vilder, Desmond Trufant. You know, Jalen Johnson's going to have to lead this defense in his second year. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen here, but and Akeem Hicks could be out the door. But the good thing is if this defense can stay around 15, then if a Justin Fields-led offense should be okay. We have a brutal schedule, but that's not saying that we can still do damage. So.
The other thing, of course, is, you know, we've spoken about all the positives and all the strengths of Justin Fields, but I mean, what do you feel are not necessarily the weaknesses, but almost like the things that he does need to improve on in order to become a, you know, like NFL starter consistently over the next few years?
Well, the first thing always is for college quarterbacks is just adjusting to the speed of the game. Obviously, when you get to the NFL, everything speeds up. So every quarterback has to adjust to that. But off the bat, his processing is all right. It's not the greatest, but it's still good. It's something he can improve on. And then just recognizing coverages and every, when defenses disguise coverages and being able to kind of call that out. That's something that we missed with Trubisky. He didn't recognize his coverages unless it was the Lions where they just run, cover 2 right at you or whatever. And it's really easy for him to kind of know where it's going to be open. But, being able to recognize coverages is going to be huge for his success, because we saw Trubisky couldn't do that. And that was one of the things that obviously led to his downfall.
Do you think he's been set up for success as well with the players that he has around him? I mean, the offensive line, I still think is a little bit hit and miss. But when you talk about people like Darnell Mooney, or as YouTuber I know calls him Darnell Money with 2 O's because he's just that good. And I think he's brilliant as well. But you re-sign Allen Robinson, Cole Kmet looks like he can take the next step to the next level. Do you think the offense has been built for him to be able to succeed?
Yeah, this is a I think a lot of people underestimate the talent of the offense, especially going into this year, especially the offensive line. Actually, you have James Daniels is coming back, the big guard from Iowa, probably our best offensive lineman. Cody Whitehair staying at guard. You have Sam Mustipher, who ended the year very strong at center. And then you have Bobby Macy at right tackle. And then you have Larry Borum, who they drafted Missouri in the 5th round. And then you have Tevin Jenkins, the big guy who projected first-round quarterback, dropped all the way to the Bears in the 2nd round. Those are 2. Tevin Jenkins was someone I projected the Bears to get, and Pace got Fields and Jenkins. It was just remarkable. But you got Jenkins over at left tackle now, and I think it's going to be a solid line. I would be more comfortable – I'm sorry, not Macy. Jermaine Affidi is going to be at right tackle, but I'd be more comfortable if they can get someone else like Moses to come in at right tackle. But I think it's going to be a little bit better than a lot of people think. And then, of course, like I said, your wide receivers, you've got Mooney. Miller's coming back, who with the new quarterback, you should see a lot of improvement there. A-Rob is going to have whoever starts, Miller or Dalton, you're going to have your best quarterback he's ever played with. And then you've got your Daz Newsome, who they picked up, who can return punts and also be dangerous on the field. And you've also got Marquise Goodwin that they brought in, I think correctly, right? One of the Niners guys, I think it was Marquise Goodwin. But the Bears are stacked at wide receiver. They're deep, definitely. And then you have your running backs, which I'm over the moon excited for. They brought in Damian Williams from Kansas City. And then Tariq Cohen's coming back off injury. And then they got Dave Montgomery, who ended the year as a top 5 running back. So this is a team has all the pieces. And if you put that quarterback position, if the quarterback position works out, this is an offense that could be super deadly. And I'm very excited about it. But yeah, the supporting cast is definitely there for Justin Fields.
I completely forgot, Adam, you're a Packers fan. And we're a Bears fan. I'm just the penny is only just dropped for that.
I'm going to look forward to this season. I can tell.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Justin Fields against Rodgers is going to be most likely. Rodgers is going to be it's going to be a fun one.
Who do you actually think is going to start as the starting quarterback come week 1? Because the thing is, it's just come out that Matt Nagy has told Chris Collinsworth, I think, that that basically Justin Fields is not, he is not the starting quarterback. It's going to be Andy Dalton, and that Fields is going to sit behind him. But when you've got a quarterback of this talent, you do feel that is he going to show in training camp that he should be the starter?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And he's already, I think the first day that one of the first days, Dalton and Fields already throwing balls. Fields had some beautiful passes, and Dalton threw 3 picks in 7-on-7. So, and the full quote to that, Matt Nagy did say, Dalton's number 1, Fields is number 2, but he can't predict what's going to happen between now and week 1. He said that they have a plan, they're going to stick to it, but he can't predict what's going to happen in between there. So if Fields shows out, he's going to start. I just find it, and the issue with Matt Nagy is he's very stubborn sometimes, so he might just stick to that plan, but you look at great quarterbacks like Russell Wilson that didn't sit behind anybody, or other quarterbacks like that. Even Justin Herbert can, technically with 1.5 games, but I find it very hard to see Andy Dalton in any capacity beating out Justin Fields. Especially when we get to preseason. It's going to be interesting. I don't really know how he's going to be able, if Andy Dalton starts week 1, I don't know how he's going to be able to justify it. That said, that's obviously expecting Justin Fields to have a really good preseason, but I do think it's going to be Andy Dalton. I think the only reason it wouldn't be is because they don't want to start him against LA, in LA, on Sunday night, week 1 against a tough defense. So that's the only reason why. But if there's any game to start, it's prime time. And then, you see the NFL is really pushing for the Bears to start Justin Fields because of that very reason. So I think it's Justin Fields, unless we see, if there's not much of a difference in preseason and camp, then we'll see Andy Dalton. But if you see that gap and Fields is just insane, then Fields will start.
That'd be quite a welcome to the NFL moment, wouldn't it? First game, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting for sure. And I know Jalen Ramsey's, Bears fans have been getting to Jalen Ramsey lately, so I'm ready to see him get burned.
Do you worry that could almost, like what you're saying, if it is relatively equal going into the start of the season, that it could almost become a bit of a missed opportunity? By having Dalton start them games, because you might not necessarily get the results that you want, because we know what Dalton can bring, and obviously Fields, the hope is that he's going to be a lot better than that. So yeah, it could be a bit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course, that's a worry. We don't want Andy Dalton to start the season, the Bears start 0-4 or 0-3 or 1-4 or whatever. That's obviously the scare, especially with this schedule. So. If you're able to bring someone in like Andy Dalton or like Justin Fields to start the season and get us off to a bang. If we start Justin Fields and the Bears don't win a lot of games off the bat, then they don't win a lot of games off the bat. But you're not going to win, you're not going to really win football games with Andy Dalton unless the defense is playing out of their minds, and they're not going to be amazing this year. So it's absolutely a worry of mine. If Andy Dalton starts, what are we going to do? Are we going to miss opportunities unless we can sneak out a couple games and then Fields comes in? But yeah, Dalton's going to have a short leash regardless. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. And it's so hard for me to see Fields not starting week 1, but we'll see.
There's so many avenues, isn't there? Because it could almost happen in like a Miami thing of last year. If Ryan Fitzpatrick, he started the first 6 games and was decent. I think he only lost 2-3 games, maybe might have been 3-3. And then they benched him, and then Tua came in, and that got a lot of backlash at first. Even though Tua is the future of the franchise for Miami, there was backlash because they were like, well, hang on, we're winning here. Do you think even if Andy Dalton was winning, there may be some pressure on Nagy to change it up because Justin Fields is the future of the franchise? Or
that's interesting because I think, especially Bears fans, if we're winning, especially with this schedule, and Andy Dalton's doing well, I think Bears fans would be totally fine with Justin Fields sitting. I really do think that. As excited as we would be to see him play, if we're winning football games, I'm totally okay with him staying on the bench and continuing to learn, continuing to soak up as much as he can, so he has that experience. I know everybody wants to replicate what they did with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, but Alex Smith was playing at an all-pro, all-star, Pro Bowl level at that time. And unfortunately, you're not really going to get that out of Andy Dalton at this point in his career. So it will be interesting. It's unlikely that the Bears are just go on a tear with Andy Dalton, but I mean, it could happen. And at that case, I mean, Justin Fields, keep him back there, keep him healthy, keep him fresh, and keep him learning.
Just sort of moving away slightly a bit from Justin Fields, but still on the draft. I mean, how did you actually feel about the rest of your draft? Because obviously you did give up some picks in order to move up. I mean, were you happy with the other picks that you brought in?
Yeah. I think they brought in, they were offensive heavy, which is what we all wanted. I think the first 2, they could have drafted Fields and Tevin Jenkins and not drafted the rest of the draft, and we all would have been ecstatic. But they went out and got, Jenkins and then Larry Borum, who's going to be our starting right tackle eventually. And then you got Daz Newsome. He's I don't want to say a speedster, but he's he could do damage to you on the field. You got Khalil Herbert, a running back. I think he was Oregon State. But a lot of offensive players, and then UDFA, they brought in defensive linemen, linebackers, cornerbacks. So you also got Thomas Graham, cornerback, late round. So lots of exciting guys that they brought in with a lot of potential. This was at least before they perform. Looking at each draft that Pace has done before the season, this has been Pace's best draft. Hopefully I can look back on this and say this has actually been Pace's draft, but if you're looking at the names he's bringing in and everything, that Pace knocked it out of the ballpark.
There is still a bit of a question mark surrounding your head coach, Matt Nagy. I mean, he was on the hot seat last year, but he went 8-8 and he got to the wild card game. So I don't see why he was on the hot seat in a way. However, 3 years ago, he went 12-4 and he got coach of the year. He then went 8-8. He's then gone 8-8 again. If he has another, let's say 8-9 season, I forget, but there's 17 games now rather than 16. But say, he goes 10-9 or something of that caliber. Like, do you think he's still going to be on the hot seat? Do you think it's been a bit unfair, some of the criticism that's been against him? Is he the coach for you?
I don't know. I really don't know what would happen if he has a losing season. It really depends on Justin Fields. I think Nagy is now tied to Justin Fields. He got to pick his quarterback. So now if he flops on that, then he's gone. But the thing with Matt Nagy is he came in to be this offensive guru, this next Andy Reid, and the offense has been horrible since he's been here. I mean, he hasn't been doing anything except the last couple of games of last season, minus the Saints game. But you look at you look at what this offense has done since Nagy's been here. It's been terrible. And that's why Bears fans were losing games that we shouldn't be losing. And Mitch Trubisky sucks. Like last year, it was frustrating. And that's why Nagy and Pace, I thought they were going to be fired, and they weren't. They were kept, I guess now, luckily. But they were on the hot seat, and rightfully so. I think they weren't performing. And you can say, they made the playoffs, for sure. But they weren't going to do anything. They barely limped into the playoffs, and they put on a pitiful performance against a Saints team that was extremely beatable. So, at the end of the day, this is all going to come down now to how this year goes, and I think next year now too, based off Justin Fields and what the Bears were able to do. Now, if they completely, they do terrible this year, I think they're both gone. But I think with the drafting of Justin Fields, it's security for both of them for this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that's why they've been more aggressive in the draft?
Oh yeah, they're on their last lifeline here. So that they definitely moved up to get Fields, and they knew Fields was going to give them that extension. So if this works out, then they'll be here. I like Matt Nagy. I think his play calling is questionable sometimes. He has issues on the goal line, especially third down. He tries to be too cute. His schemes are fantastic. He schemes wide receivers open all the time. Mitch Trubisky just doesn't hit him, which is why the offense doesn't work. But when you get a quarterback that's able to hit these open wide receivers, it opens up the run game like it did at the end of the year last year. And then, this offense is going to be up and running. So I'm really excited to see what these guys can do in a Matt Nagy offense with a functional quarterback.
I've got just one last question for you, and pardon the pun, I'm poking the bear with the stick here, to be fair. What is the opinion and the feeling about what is happening in Green Bay, your fellow NFC North rivals? And is it a good laughing joke for you guys in Chicago about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers? Or would you be sad to see him go because he's a competitive guy?
Why would we be sad to see him go?
I don't know. I'm playing a lot of scenarios. I'm just trying to gauge the feeling in Chicago.
It's been great for us. I heard he's coming back, but that doesn't seem to be remotely true right now. So I'm really just kind of playing it out. It's hard to see him going anywhere else. I don't know if he's going to hold out. I think he's just kind of playing out this free, he gets free skips of mandatory practice, and they're going to probably reimburse him for it. So we're enjoying it. For one time, Packers fans can suffer for an offseason for once. I think Rodgers will be back, but if not, good luck. That's going to be different. But yeah, I think it's just I have never, like, even when the Packers were bad, they still had Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, and I just I've never experienced the Packers where they didn't have a good quarterback. So this will be new, and I'm sorry, Adam, will be enjoyable for me.
I'm glad that you're going to have fun with it.
yes. You stress on the other hand, but yeah, it's been Bears Twitter's been enjoying it for sure. We've been enjoying it. Now, obviously, once they bring Aaron Rodgers back, if they do, that'll be different. But at least this time around, we got someone with more hope than any other Bears quarterback we've had. So we'll see.
How do you actually think you're going to do in the NFC North next year? I mean, like, we know there's a lot of unknowns, but
yeah,
how do you feel you can do?
I think the Lions are going to suck. I mean, they're going to be so bad right off the bat. The Vikings,
they're going to be really bad.
They're going to be so bad. They're going to be bad. The Vikings are going to be okay. I just don't know. I don't know with the Bears. It depends. It depends if Andy Dalton comes in and flops and he sucks. I think the Bears can then finish 8-9, 9-8. If Justin Fields comes in, he lives up to the hype, he does all right. I think the Bears can go, what are they, 10-7, maybe 11-6. But this schedule is, again, like I said, very difficult. So I really don't know what they're going to be able to do. I don't know what this defense is going to be like. Sean Desai's first season, I'm very excited about him, but first season, I don't know how he's going to be. So a lot of unknowns. I think the Bears will be in that 2-3 range. If Aaron Rodgers is gone, the door's wide open for an 8-9, 9-8 division winner this year.
Yeah.
Austin, thank you very much for joining us. We consider you one of the good guys of sports podcasting over in the US. You really helped us out for sure when we were doing stuff at other networks, and you've always been there for advice and guided both me and Adam with his writing, me with the podcasting, and we're very thankful for the advice that you have given us in the past. And we do wish you all the best of luck in the future with everything that you're doing. I know you're not podcasting at the minute, but where we can find all your stuff on Twitter, you're tweeting Chicago stuff. Am I right at Pod Guy Fuges?
Yeah, Pod Guy Fuges, F-U-G-S. It's okay. Everybody says Fuges. That's okay. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Obviously, like, you guys are one of my favorite relationships developed at the Brawl, and I'm really happy to see what you guys are doing now. Podcast is killing it. So it's you guys keep doing your thing, and obviously, anytime you guys want to have me on, I'm here. So shoot me a DM, and we'll do it again. It was a lot of fun.
Well, maybe when the Packers and Bears wheel round to play each other in whatever week it is, there could be, Fields v. Jordan Love. That could be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate everyone who's been listening so far. Keep sharing the podcast, keep liking, keep subscribing, catch all of our live stuff as well. You've been great supporting us, and hopefully we can bring some amazing guests onto this podcast. We've had some awesome ones on so far, and we've got some great ones still to come. So thank you again. Have a great week. Hopefully the continued hot weather will happen, and hopefully England carry on doing well in the Euros. But until then,
go England.
Until then, we'll see you next week.